Let's talk Trevon Diggs, someone who was one of the most interesting players heading into this season. Last year, he gave up the most yards in football. He also had by far the most interceptions in football. So he was one of the most anticipated players going into 2022. How would he play? And he's played well. There's no getting around it. If you're a Trevon Diggs hater, he has played very well. I have some potential nitpicks, not even nitpicks, but just something I noticed that I could see a team exploiting a little bit later on that I haven't noticed in his game prior to this. So I will talk about that. But first, let's talk about the good, what he's doing well, stuff like this. I think that he's just, been a lot better at. And again, the talent was always there. The question was just sort of, will he stop going too hard on interceptions, which can leave him open sometimes. But he's still doing a great job at just covering guys in this game. This is going to be a cover 3 zone. He is the deep corner on this play, still top right-hand corner of the screen. The one you see in white, that's where he's covering. You have a route that's going to be right underneath his gap and coverage that he's supposed to cover. And so because of this, they're basically just picking on Diggs a little bit. Watch how when this play begins, you see right here, the second the receiver moves in, Diggs is still jumping the route and trying to cover it up. So this is just what Diggs is, and this is what Diggs does. And yes, you can get burned on some double moves. He has gotten burned on a double move or two this season as well. Hasn't really come back to bite him too much, luckily. So it is still something he's leaving himself open for. But I think that he's doing a good job at just, again, you cover the initial route. Okay, yes, you can get beat on double moves. Everyone can get beat on double moves. Double moves are hard to cover. But look, he completely covers this route. The ball goes somewhere else. But, really good job from Diggs, I think. And that's what Diggs, I think, has been doing well for the Dallas Cowboys so far, is he's been covering the guy he's supposed to cover. At the end of the day, that is your job, at the NFL level, and he's doing a great job at it. Going over here now, this is a great play, I think. And this, again, kind of goes to show what Diggs can do when things are going well for him. It's going to be a man coverage play. It's a go route on the outside. So that's the situation. There's a safety deep, just like there was a safety deep on the last play, but just one safety deep. So there's not really safety help on this play. It's kind of just a true one-on-one matchup with a go route. I mean, these are dangerous, and everyone's going to kind of make fun of Carson Wentz for making this throw. But on paper, this is the throw that you actually should make. On paper, this is a favorable matchup just because it's a one-on-one matchup on the outside. Look at how when Carson Wentz takes the snap and looks in that direction, you get to this point, and okay, Diggs definitely has some bit of space here underneath. I mean, he's several yards further deep than the receiver that he's covering. So, again, could you argue he's leaving himself open? He is leaving himself open. This is what Diggs does. These are there are negative benefits that will happen because of it, but there's also the positives. I mean, if this is a route where the receiver is actually cutting back, it's going to be a completion. It just is. But if it's not, then Diggs could be in a good situation. I mean, watch how Wentz makes this throw, and Diggs is just going to make an incredible catch on that one. I mean, that's just a thing of beauty right there by Diggs. So listen, he has a philosophy, he has a strategy, and it's been working, and it's been working for long enough that I think at a certain point you have to just say, listen, the interceptions, yes, there was some luck last year. There's no denying that he's not going to get 11 interceptions a season. That's just not going to happen. But that being said, he currently has 2 through 4 games, so maybe he won't be too far off. I don't know. He's doing great stuff. Definitely getting his hands on the ball pretty frequently. And even stuff like this, where what's going to happen here is, again, it's going to be an interesting play with Diggs. It's going to be a one-on-one matchup. You see the route that he's going up against right here. So this is the route that can absolutely work, and this is the route that I think Diggs would get fooled on sometimes, where, maybe thinks it's going to go over the middle, and then it doesn't. Like, watch, you see right when this play begins, Diggs has his hips turned towards the middle of the field, and this is the last thing I should mention is, I brought up a couple times early on, okay, well, right here, if the receiver cut right at this spot, then they could potentially get open. The reality is you could do that with a lot of corners. Again, corner is tough it's just a tough position to play. Like, there are no true shutdown corners in today's NFL. But the other aspect is just because it looks like a corner is in a kind of a weakened position and it looks like the receiver is in a favorable position, that does not necessarily mean that if the throw goes right there, it definitely is going to be a completion. Like this example, it's not a huge, great situation for Washington, but Diggs' hips are turned towards the top of the screen. The receiver is going to be cutting behind him. That is what you would say is a favorable situation. However, Diggs is able to turn around well. He's able to get over and he knocks that ball away. So a great closeout by Diggs. And if you can still, have that kind of great ball skills, even if you get a little bit behind, you're still going to be okay. You don't have to worry too much about it. So this stuff is, very good. He's playing, I think a lot better this season than he was last season, playing like a lot more like a complete corner. But I mentioned there's one potential issue. Let's talk about that one potential issue. So it's going to be this play where it's going to be a cover 2 zone that the Washington football team is going up against, so that the Dallas Cowboys are in cover 2 zone. So you see where Diggs is supposed to cover. He is covering what you call the flat right there. That's that white circle, not the one that's Diggs is in, but the one that Diggs is covering. There is a deep route on that side of the field, and Diggs' job on this play is not to cover him the entire time. That's his job. His job is to only cover 5 to 15 yards down the field. That's what you say for the flat. That's what most teams do. I believe that's what every team does. It's possible that the Cowboys do something slightly different, but I haven't heard that. I think it's safe to assume they do what every other team does, which is the 5 to 15 yards down the field, roughly. Again, these are all kind of suggestions, not rules, but that's about what you should be looking at. However, right when this play begins, I think Diggs is kind of leaving himself open a little bit. Again, you want to be able to look at the quarterback. This is what you want to do in zone coverage. That's definitely something that's important. But it feels like it's close to 15 yards. We're talking about maybe like 10 to 12 yards, but there's definitely a window where you can make this throw. I don't know if you want to put that on him or put it on the safety, but there's just there's a window where you can potentially hit this. It's small, but I do wonder if a team's going to try and take advantage of that. Like, look, there was an opening there, and especially if you get someone else to clear out the safety on that side of the field, if Diggs isn't looking behind him, he won't know that. So I'm not saying this is negative at all. Again, I know some people are very sensitive towards any criticism towards Trevon Diggs. I'm not saying this is negative. I'm just saying this is an interesting thing I noticed, and I wonder if a team will try to exploit it, because this wasn't huge, but there were times when it got a lot bigger. Like, look, this is a good example of, I think, another situation where that's where he is on the field. So again, similar type spot here. Right when this play begins, Diggs once again plays it the exact same way, and I know it's blurry, but you can see there is an opening right here. This is something that you have to be a little bit concerned about if you are Washington. Excuse me, I don't know why I keep confusing the two. If you are Dallas, potentially there's a way you can get some yards down the field doing this. Now again, it's risky, right? Trying to thread the needle between a ball hawking corner and a safety. Bad stuff can happen, but I really do think that if I see this stuff, if I'm preparing for the Cowboys next week, what I'm doing is I'm getting someone to clear out the safety and getting another guy to run a deep route when I see 2 safety deep coverages, and hope I can get somebody, maybe a blown coverage and get a big touchdown that way. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens at some point. But again, the Dallas Cowboys also see what I see, so I'm sure they might watch the tape and say, hey, let's just make sure, take a glance back, make sure that you have a safety there. You might have to cover him, stuff like that. There's ways you can fix this, but just, again, something interesting I noticed as a whole. I'm not doing this to say, oh, he's actually terrible. He's not. He's played very well so far through 4 weeks, and I think it's going to continue. I think it's fair to say he was not a complete corner last year. He wasn't. But I also think it's fair to say he's a young player. Corners tend to get better with age, and he's continuing to get better with age. So we'll see if he continues to grow and, can be even better. But that's what I think about Diggs. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Diggs and how he played so far through 4 weeks with the Dallas Cowboys? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.